Society and pop culture endlessly sell us the American dream as a glittering utopia of ultimate freedom, boundless wealth, and pristine healthcare. The reality is disappointingly boring. We're about to shatter this tired facade right now with zero sugarcoating. These aren't ancient historical myths whispered around campfires. They're painfully expensive lies we end up learning the hard way. 1. We're constantly told the United States is a high-tech wonderland boasting the most advanced roads and bridges on Earth. The boring truth is that our daily commute is a dangerous fantasy, held together by cheap paint and sheer luck. We watch the nation prioritize billion-dollar space flights while we drive over concrete bridges on the verge of structural collapse. Our shiny glass skyscrapers sit squarely on top of rusting steel beams and rapidly decaying iron pipes. We navigate lunar crater potholes on our way to underfunded offices, pretending the ground beneath us is stable. The logistics of this are hilarious. It's basically buying a brand new luxury sports car, but the steering wheel is made of wet cardboard, the engine runs on hopes, and the brakes are a paid monthly subscription. 2. Tipping is supposed to be a beautiful hospitality tradition to reward great service. The reality of the situation is just a corporate scam to offload basic payroll costs onto us. Restaurant owners legally pay their waitstaff literal pocket change. This forces workers to depend solely on the unpredictable mood of hungry strangers just to pay their rent. We sit there doing mental math after a meal, guilt-tripped into subsidizing a broken business model while the house keeps the profits. The actual risk of running an establishment gets dumped directly onto the employee. Think about that for a second. A low-budget reality survival show where the grand prize is merely affording basic groceries because a random customer liked your smile. 3. Our textbooks claim we live in a beautiful melting pot where all cultures seamlessly blend into one happy family. This concept is a poetic hallucination. We actually inhabit a rigidly divided salad bowl where communities live in tight ethnic enclaves, desperately avoiding any real integration. True cultural mixing requires multi-generational friction and deep, uncomfortable compromises. It isn't an instant airport magic trick that happens the moment someone clears customs. People spend their lives navigating isolated neighborhood bubbles, interacting only when exchanging money for goods. A mandatory corporate team-building retreat where everyone smiles brightly for the promotional group photo, but secretly eats lunch alone in their own locked cars. 4. The land of the free is the catchphrase we proudly stamp on everything from bumper stickers to political campaigns. The depressing truth is that we reside in the land of the relentlessly incarcerated. Our society runs a multi-billion-dollar prison industrial complex, locking up more people per capita than anywhere else on the planet. Freedom here is mostly just the illusion of choosing between 50 different brands of laundry detergent at the store. Step even slightly outside the narrow legislated rules, and that so-called liberty vanishes into a tiny concrete cell faster than you can blink. It's an exclusive nightlife venue where the cover charge is your future, the drinks are tap water, and the bouncer is a tired judge with a mandatory quota to fill before the weekend. 5. We stand shivering under fluorescent lights, trying to pretend the person standing 10 inches away doesn't exist. Public facilities supposedly offer a standard level of basic human privacy when we need it most. It's actually an architectural disaster designed specifically to maximize our awkwardness. We walk into stalls featuring gaping side spaces that allow unwanted, deeply uncomfortable eye contact with passing strangers. It forces citizens to perform their most private biological acts in a space that feels utterly exposed. This directly contradicts our grand concepts of individual liberty. It would be like trying to hide your banking password from a guy standing directly over your shoulder while you're both stuck together in a broken elevator. 6. Filing taxes is often framed as a complex math equation required to keep our civilization functioning fairly. The reality is disappointingly boring and deeply manipulative. We're forced into a panicked scavenger hunt, lobbied into existence by wealthy software companies. The government already knows exactly what we owe them down to the last penny. They make us guess anyway. If we guess wrong, we get financially punished. We spend hours sorting through crumpled receipts. Large tax prep corporations spend millions of dollars ensuring the system remains intentionally confusing, so we have no choice but to buy their annual assistance. A toxic romantic relationship where your partner is mad at you, knows exactly why, makes you guess the reason, and if you get it wrong, they legally take your car. 7. We sip warm liquids slowly from a green siren cup, ignoring the impending sugar crash. Dropping $7 on a morning coffee supposedly makes us sophisticated international bean connoisseurs. The logistics of this are hilarious because we're actually just buying a warm bucket of liquid dessert. The drink we carry around like a status symbol is mostly heated milk and sugary rocket fuel syrup with a microscopic splash of burnt coffee. Customizing the temperature, foam, and pump count is merely a psychological trick. It gives us a false sense of control over our otherwise chaotic mornings, expertly masking a dense calorie bomb. Paying a premium to drink an entire frosted birthday cake through a plastic straw while pretending you're an enlightened Italian poet writing a masterpiece. 8. Society preaches that hard work alone will inevitably transform us into self-made millionaires. The boring truth is, this is a physics-defying fairy tale meant to justify systemic societal burnout. Social mobility is a statistical nightmare. Working 3 exhausting jobs doesn't build a vast empire. It barely buys enough bread to survive the week. Unless we inherited money, our relentless hustle just pays for the caffeinated drinks required to keep hustling until our knees give out. This myth successfully frames systemic poverty as a personal moral flaw rather than a rigidly rigged casino. Trying to win a competitive marathon by running furiously on a treadmill in a dark basement. The runner sweats to exhaustion, but the rusty machinery ensures they haven't moved a single inch. 9. The word natural printed in big green letters on packaging implies the food is a healthy, farm-fresh miracle. The reality is disappointingly boring, as the term is a completely unregulated linguistic hallucination. Legally, that specific word means next to nothing in our grocery aisles. Corporations pack cardboard boxes full of lab-grown chemicals, artificial stabilizers, and cheap fillers, then just slap a rustic picture of a red barn on the front. The food industry uses earthy fonts to trick our tired brains into thinking we're buying raw nature. We're simply purchasing brightly colored industrial science projects designed for maximum shelf life. Putting a tiny tuxedo on a wild raccoon and trying to pass it off at a party as a wealthy real estate agent. 10. Getting served giant restaurant portions supposedly means we're scoring an incredible financial value. It sounds impressive, but historically, it's just a psychological trap serving us a towering mountain of future regret. We're essentially paying for cheap starch, liquid sugar, and glasses filled mostly with ice. The extreme physical volume on the plate serves as a deliberate distraction from the fact that the actual food quality is borderline industrial waste. Restaurants trade our long-term human survival for cheap, immediate bulk. We unbutton our pants and congratulate ourselves on the great deal we found. Bragging to your friends that you managed to secure a huge discount on a heavy parachute made entirely out of damp toilet paper. 11. We're taught our credit score is a concrete moral reflection of our personal responsibility. The reality is much darker, revealing a bizarre financial video game where accumulating debt is the only way to level up. If we avoid taking on debt or actually pay our loans off early, we get swiftly punished. The system inherently rewards professional debtors and ruthlessly punishes any form of true financial independence. A mysterious basement algorithm decides if we can rent an apartment or buy a car based solely on how much interest profit a bank can eventually squeeze from our paychecks. It would be like a high school teacher giving a student a failing grade because they finished their homework too fast and didn't slip a $20 bribe to the principal. 12. Signing a shiny gym contract feels like the first noble step toward achieving a healthy Hollywood body. The boring truth is that we just walked into a predatory financial trap relying on our innate laziness. These facilities drastically oversell their physical capacity, betting huge sums of money that we won't ever actually show up. Joining takes a few cheerful seconds at the front desk, but canceling requires navigating a bureaucratic labyrinth worthy of an ancient myth. They profit directly off our quiet guilt. They hope we stay planted on the couch while they quietly drain our bank accounts every month. A premium subscription to insecurity. Paying a recurring monthly fee to keep a ghost in your closet that constantly judges your poor posture. 13. Americans are known globally as the friendliest people on earth, always asking how you're doing. The reality is disappointingly boring. This behavior is a shallow cultural reflex, not a gesture of genuine friendship. The relentless politeness functions as an avoidance tactic. We ask a dozen questions but never actually pause to hear the answers. Telling an acquaintance we should grab lunch sometime is actually a coded verbal spell meant to ensure we never cross paths again. It's a highly choreographed performance designed to prevent actual messy human connection. Basically, a biological spam filter. Smiling at a stranger just long enough to visually verify they aren't an immediate physical threat before mentally hitting the delete button. 14. A crisp university degree is advertised as a guaranteed golden ticket to a wealthy, comfortable life. The logistics of this are hilarious because it's just a predatory loan dressed up in a fancy cap and gown. Teenagers sign away their financial futures to banking institutions before they can even legally buy a beer. Entry-level salaries barely cover the cost of a cramped apartment with 3 roommates, while the loan interest compounds without mercy. We aren't buying ancient scholarly knowledge. We're pre-selling our future labor to a banking conglomerate. It's the economic equivalent of buying a luxury yacht with a plastic credit card, but the yacht is just a single piece of paper letting you apply for a job at a windowless cubicle farm. 15. The birthplace of the internet obviously possesses the fastest, cheapest web access on the globe. It sounds impressive, but historically we're just eager hostages to a giant telecom monopoly. While citizens across Europe get blazing download speeds for mere pennies, we pay an absolute fortune for an internet connection that crashes the moment a slight breeze hits a wire. Access is treated as an elite luxury rather than a basic modern utility. We sit there staring at buffering circles, handing over chunks of our paychecks for mediocre connectivity. Paying for a sleek private jet ticket, only to have a sweaty guy with a wooden wheelbarrow show up at your front door to carry you slowly through the thickest mud imaginable. 16. We wipe our sticky mouths and eagerly ask the waiter for another glass. Unlimited soda refills feel like a generous gift, representing our grand national abundance. The boring truth is it acts as a calculated sugar bombing campaign designed to keep us happily sedated. The sugary liquid itself costs the restaurant mere pennies per gallon. They use it to keep us glued to our plastic booths, pumping our veins full of cheap corn syrup and sharp carbonation until our blood sugar violently spikes. We sit there feeling like pampered royalty, but we're just bloated lab rats participating in a corporate hydration experiment. A flashy downtown casino handing out free watered-down drinks, so the players don't realize they just drunkenly mortgaged their childhood homes at the rigged blackjack table. 17. New suburban houses stand as sturdy fortresses built to hold a lasting family legacy. The reality is disappointingly boring. These sprawling developments are just giant disposable boxes, constructed from standard plywood and naive hope. They're built in a frantic rush using the cheapest possible materials available on the market. These homes feature hollow plastic trims pretending to be expensive oak and paper-thin walls where we can clearly hear our neighbors sneeze next door. Long-term architectural durability gets sacrificed to provide vast, unheatable square footage. The structural equivalent of a cheap, fast-fashion shirt. It looks fantastic for one filtered internet photo, but instantly disintegrates at the seams the very first time it rains. 18. Black Friday represents an incredible day of once-in-a-lifetime consumer savings. The logistics of this are hilarious. It's merely a psychological war designed to clear out last year's obsolete plastic garbage from dusty warehouse shelves. Retail stores artificially inflate their shiny price tags weeks in advance, just to drop them back to normal on Friday morning. We watch desperate shoppers physically assault each other in fluorescent aisles over mediocre televisions, just to save handfuls of pocket change. It turns a quiet holiday weekend into a violent inventory clearing event, disguised as a cherished family tradition. Entering a sandy gladiator arena to fight a hungry bear, and the grand prize is a toaster that will inevitably break down by early February. 19. If we work hard enough, our company becomes our family and protects us forever. The boring truth is this heartwarming delusion gets easily destroyed by standard at-will employment laws. We can be fired instantly, for any reason or no reason at all, just to save the executive board a few measly pennies. The so-called corporate family demands the ultimate sacrifice of our mental health, weekends, and free time. The moment the quarterly budgets slightly tighten, They treat us as instantly replaceable gears. We pack our desks into cardboard boxes while the CEO sends out an email about restructuring. A family where a father can legally evict his children from the dinner table forever because he found a stray dog that eats slightly less food. 20. We walk down the bright aisles filling our metal carts with colored poison. The local supermarket supposedly offers the safest, most tightly regulated food supply on Earth. It sounds impressive, but historically we're just shopping in a brightly lit industrial laboratory. The foods we buy are packed with intense preservatives and cheap chemicals, banned in almost every other developed nation. Neon orange byproducts get confidently marketed to us as essential daily nutrients. The food industry generates billions by selling cheap, ultra-processed garbage to the masses, and then another sector profits off the resulting healthcare crisis. Eating a shiny plastic toy dinosaur and convincing yourself you just consumed a premium steak because the packaging featured a drawing of a green leaf. 21. Giant trucks and sport utility vehicles are practically necessary for our family safety and rugged weekend adventures. The reality is disappointingly boring. This is just an expensive outdoor fantasy manufactured for tired suburban commuters. These oversized, dangerous metal beasts will rarely ever see a real dirt road. They guzzle insane amounts of expensive fuel just to sit idling in an elementary school pickup line. Drivers purchase these apocalypse-ready tanks to pick up bananas at the store. It inflates their frail egos while simultaneously making the local roads much deadlier for everyone else forced to drive smaller cars. Wearing a pressurized astronaut spacesuit just to walk down the carpeted hallway to check your metal mailbox. 22. We pull out our wallets, sighing loudly as the register screen total jumps up arbitrarily. The bold price tag sitting on the store shelf shows us exactly what we'll pay. The boring truth is that shopping here involves a mandatory surprise math test. Both the retail store and the local government know the exact final price of the item, but they actively hide it from us until the very last second. We're forced to mentally calculate local municipal tax percentages on the fly while standing in a busy line. This turns every basic grocery transaction into a frustrating ambush of hidden fees and loose coins. A street magician performing a flashy card trick, but the grand prestige is just an assistant stealing $5 out of your back pocket while you blink. 23. You can easily visit the skyscrapers of New York and then take a quick afternoon drive to see the Grand Canyon. The logistics of this are hilarious. This severe geographical delusion is caused by staring at tiny paper maps. The country is a sprawling, continent-sized monster that eats time. We can drive for 12 hours straight, stare at the exact same endless rows of pine trees, and somehow remain in the exact same state. A quick scenic road trip is actually multiple days of staring blankly at a dusty dashboard in pure existential dread while eating old potato chips. Trying to casually walk to the moon because the shiny glowing orb looked pretty small when you squinted at it, through your bedroom window on a clear night. 24. The courtroom stands as a noble arena where blind justice ultimately prevails for all citizens. The reality of this situation is just a premium subscription service billed in 6-minute increments. The legal system functions as a high-stakes wrestling match, won by whoever can afford the most expensive lawyer in the room. Rampant litigation means we need to sign a 20-page legal waiver just to rent a bicycle. The rules are kept intentionally complex, so normal citizens remain forever dependent on folks in expensive suits just to survive a dispute. A tense game of chess where the referee actively charges your credit card every single time you touch a pawn, and your wealthy opponent is legally allowed to buy a second queen. 25. Highway exits offer a string of unique local cultural adventures across the nation. The boring truth is we're just driving through a 48-state loop of identical corporate concrete islands. Drive 3,000 miles in any direction, and every single exit looks exactly the same. We find 4 fast food joints and a glaring gas station smelling faintly of old hot dogs. The romantic dream of discovering a quirky local diner was efficiently eradicated by corporate franchises decades ago. The only thing that actually changes from coast to coast is the price of unleaded gas and milk. Exploring a procedurally generated video game where the tired developers only coded 3 brick buildings and just copy-pasted them into infinity. 26. Our nation boasts the best medical care because it's undeniably the most expensive. The reality is disappointingly boring. It's merely a terrifying extortion scheme run by corporate accountants wearing white lab coats. The system forces sick citizens into high-speed financial chases just to survive a simple, routine doctor visit. We aren't paying for cutting-edge magic cures. We're single-handedly funding a vast administrative nightmare where a cheap plastic bag of salt water manages to bankrupt an entire family. We sit in waiting rooms filling out forms while our savings drain away, being held at gunpoint in a dark alley, but the mugger wears a sterile stethoscope and makes you fill out 3 clipboards of paperwork before taking your wallet. 27. Maintaining a perfectly green lawn proves we're respectable, responsible citizens of our community. The logistics of this are hilarious. This practice is a bizarre vanity project serving as a barren ecological desert. People dump harsh weed-killing chemicals and millions of gallons of fresh water to grow a useless plant they must mechanically chop down every 5 days. We engage in a sweaty suburban arms race to maintain a fake plastic-looking carpet in dry climates where it shouldn't logically exist. We endure all this tedious labor just to impress passing strangers in their cars. You act as an unpaid, highly stressed servant, catering to the endless, exhausting demands of a very boring species of short green grass. 28. Bubble sheet tests accurately measure a child's deep soul and overall intelligence. The boring truth is our modern schools operate as high-pressure sorting factories, teaching basic algorithmic survival. Actual dynamic learning is quickly abandoned to teach stressed kids how to outsmart generic multiple-choice exams. A child's entire academic future gets determined by whether they manage to eat a decent breakfast before filling out tiny paper circles with a number 2 wooden pencil. We subject them to a stressful, silent memory game that they'll forget the second the final bell rings. Evaluating a master chef's intricate culinary skills based just on how fast they can violently open a rusty can of cheap dog food while blindfolded. 29. Owning a piece of real estate makes you the sovereign king of your independent castle. The reality of this situation is you just moved into a miniature local dictatorship run by bored retirees. The neighborhood association strictly dictates the exact color of your living room curtains and forcefully bans your small backyard vegetable gardens. We spend decades paying off a 30-year bank mortgage only to live as glorified, heavily monitored tenants. We get financially penalized with daily fines because our metal mailbox happens to be the wrong shade of beige. Buying a sleek luxury sports car, but having to ask your grumpy neighbor for notarized written permission every single time you want to turn on the radio. 30. Store bakeries feature master chefs crafting artisanal breads by hand at the crack of dawn. The logistics of this are hilarious. This is just a deceptive theatrical performance of mass-produced dough. Those rustic loaves arrived frozen solid in the back of an 18-wheeler truck 3 months ago. They're merely popped into industrial ovens just to deploy the comforting smell of baking bread across the aisles. It's an industrial, preservative-heavy factory product cleverly masked by rustic wicker baskets and handwritten chalkboards. We buy the illusion along with the stale crust, lighting a scented candle in the middle of a loud tire factory and trying to call the resulting mess a romantic botanical garden. 31. Hitting the open road and owning a personal car represents the ultimate peak of human liberty. The boring truth is it acts as a mandatory, soul-crushing tax on your basic existence. Our entire society is paved over for combustion engines, leaving humans as an afterthought. We literally can't buy a carton of milk without risking our lives crossing a wide concrete highway. Freedom here looks like sitting trapped in a metal box, breathing thick exhaust fumes. We lose irreplaceable hours of our short lives stuck in gridlocked traffic just to participate in basic society. Being forced to wear a 2-ton iron suit of medieval armor every single time you want to get out of bed to go to the bathroom. 32. Using the blue bin saves our majestic wilderness from endless plastic waste. It sounds impressive, but historically, this is a comforting psychological shell game meant to absolve megacorporations. Most of our carefully sorted plastic is simply burned, dumped into giant local landfills, or shipped overseas on cargo boats because actually processing it is too expensive. The everyday consumer gets blamed for a severe global crisis, while giant corporations laughably produce billions of tons of profitable trash without consequence. We wash our yogurt cups feeling heroic, trying to stop a rapidly sinking cruise ship by bailing out water with a decorative cocktail spoon, while the captain drills 5 more holes in the hull. 33. Medical television commercials empower us to take charge of our personal health. The reality is disappointingly boring. This is direct-to-consumer psychological warfare selling serious pills exactly like cheap vacuum cleaners. Happy actors fly kites on screen while a calm narrator speedruns a terrifying list of side effects that sound like a medical apocalypse. We're conditioned to self-diagnose complex conditions from 30-second clips. We march into clinics and argue with actual trained doctors, effectively turning our own bodies into endless profit centers. Watching a bright advertisement for a comfy mattress where the fine print mentions it might occasionally catch fire and erase your childhood memories. 34. Small towns are idyllic, safe paradises where nobody ever locks their front doors. The boring truth is this is a nostalgic fantasy engineered to sell country music albums and pickup trucks. Many rural areas actually face severe poverty, collapsed local economies, and zero access to modern medical facilities. The cozy illusion of safety stems mostly from a complete lack of local news coverage. It doesn't mean there is an absence of dark social crises happening quietly behind those unlocked doors. We buy into the rustic charm while ignoring the rusted infrastructure, living inside a vintage glass snow globe. It looks peaceful from the outside, but inside there is no signal and you're slowly running out of breathable air. 35. We gladly pay for infinite, lightning-fast data coverage anywhere we decide to roam. The logistics of this are hilarious. The telecom industry decided the word unlimited legally means the exact opposite of the dictionary definition. The moment we actually try to use this data to watch a video, the giant carriers secretly throttle our expensive high-tech phones down to the processing speed of an old pocket calculator. It's a premium monthly service that miraculously vanishes the second we walk behind a moderately sized tree or step inside a brick building. We stare at empty loading bars while paying top dollar. An all-you-can-eat restaurant buffet where, right after you finish your very first slice of pepperoni pizza, the head chef walks over and physically breaks your jaw. 36. The sacred rule that the customer is always right ensures elite, professional service across the board. The reality of this situation is quite grim. It serves as a legal permit for unhinged adults to throw public temper tantrums without facing consequences. Retail workers must act like smiling Oscar winners while being treated as invisible human furniture. This toxic mantra empowers the loudest, angriest person in the room to verbally bully minimum wage staff just to secure a free dessert. It's a deeply flawed power dynamic masquerading as premium hospitality. Handing a loaded bazooka to a screaming toddler in a crowded room, and then sternly telling the hired babysitter she isn't legally allowed to dug. 37. Our nation stands as the global leader in personal freedom and true life enjoyment. The boring truth is we worship a relentless hustle culture religion where taking a long lunch break is basically considered corporate treason. There are 0 federally guaranteed paid vacation days. Citizens possess endless time-saving smart gadgets, yet we somehow work much longer hours than medieval peasants did. Our modern hobbies are sadly reduced to trying desperately to stay awake for a 10-minute television show before passing out on the couch in our work clothes. The animal kingdom equivalent of freedom. It's exactly like a caged hamster running in a plastic wheel until its tiny heart explodes. 38. We shuffle forward, trapped behind lost families taking photos of dirty, costumed mascots. Tourists believe this specific intersection is the pulsating, energetic heart of our culture. The logistics of this are hilarious. It's actually a neon-lit stress test and a suffocating tourist trap. Local residents avoid walking through it like a medieval plague. It's a heavily manufactured spectacle consisting of overpriced garbage, blinding digital billboards, and the lingering scent of roasted nuts and deep despair. Any sense of personal space goes there to die in an outdoor strip mall, utterly devoid of authentic charm. Standing inside a giant malfunctioning pinball machine while a stranger tries to sell you a cold, burnt pretzel. 39. Hollywood is portrayed as a glamorous paradise where anyone can become a famous superstar. The reality is disappointingly boring. We're talking about a grimy concrete sidewalk smelling of dark exhaust fumes and broken dreams. The entire aesthetic is an illusion built on clever camera filters and strategic lighting. The daily reality consists of scammy tour guides, dusty costumed characters demanding $20 for a photo, and aspiring actors working three waiting jobs for callbacks that never happen. The legendary glamour is a shallow marketing invention to keep the tourists arriving. Taking an expensive VIP tour of a local city landfill because someone told you a famous celebrity threw away a single shoe there back in 1994. Out of all the absurd things society tells us, this next segment is my personal favorite. I need a quick pause here. Think about everything we just covered. We pay to work, we pay to breathe, and we pay to just stand in line. Does your brain hurt yet from realizing how much of our basic human existence is rigidly monetized? If I had to pick a winner out of this miserable list, it's the credit score scam. Being legally forced to remain in debt just to prove you're worthy of basic shelter is the definitive peak of late-stage capitalism. It's an insulting mechanism, brilliant in its dry cruelty. But we have one final lie left. And this last one? It's the one we confidently broadcast to the entire planet, ignoring reality. Ready? Let's finish this. Ready? Let's... 40. Winning a domestic league makes a team world champions. A hilarious expression of unchecked national ego. Holding a World Series for a sport played in one country ignores the rest of the planet. It's the ultimate participation trophy to feel like global dominators without leaving the yard. Which of these lies actually drained your bank account? Don't be vague. Name the scam in the comments and tell me what it stole from you. Still defending one of these myths? Try it. The comments will tear your arguments apart. Hit like. Consider it a tax for surviving the truth. We aren't done yet.